Hey kindergartners! Today we're going to learn how to make a collage alligator. I hope you like triangles because we're going to be cutting out a lot of them. Okay, let's get started. Okay guys, so I've got my alligator here. What you're going to need to make your own gator is a full sheet of some kind of construction paper. I'm going to use blue for mine. You just need a little scrap of white like that. And if you want a tongue, a little bit of red, and scissors, pencil, tape, and one part of your alligator might be easier to do with a glue stick instead of tape. So if you have a glue stick and want to use it, have it handy. Okay, the first step is to fold your piece of construction paper into 4 parts. So we're going to fold it in half. Fold it in half again. Give it a good crease. Open it up. You've got your 4 rectangles. So now we're going to cut it along the crease. It's okay if it's not exactly on the crease. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, I've got my 4 parts. I'm just going to work with one at a time here, so I'll put these aside. I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to draw a diagonal line that goes from one corner diagonally across to the opposite corner. Like that. You can see I missed the corner by a little bit. That's okay. It doesn't have to be right on. You're going to cut that out. Now I'm going to move to the corner so I'm off my pencil a little bit. Like that. Okay. So now I'm going to take another rectangle. I'm going to take one of my triangles. That's going to be my alligator's body and tail. So now I have to make the head. Take another one of those rectangles. And on the short side, that means this side or that side. Those are the short sides. This one is longer and that one is longer, so not those. On one of the short sides, you're going to draw a rectangle. No, you're going to draw a triangle. Like that. You want it to be pretty big, but you don't want it to touch all the way on the other side. You want to stop short. I stopped right there. You're going to cut out that triangle. Okay, so I actually don't need the triangle itself. This thing I'm going to set aside because I am going to need scraps later. This, however, I do need. This piece is going to be my alligator's head. Now I'm going to pause for a second and start to tape everything in place. So I have some suggestions for when you tape. This, I don't know if you can see it, it's pretty clear. It's a really short little piece of tape. And this is a pretty long piece of paper that I'm trying to attach. What I'm going to do is take the little piece of tape and just put it down in the middle. I know it's not enough by itself, but the reason I do that is it's going to help these 2 pieces stay together while I get more tape and then tape it down on the top and the bottom. It's a little easier than trying to just take one really long piece off the bat and then you have your paper wiggling around while you try to tape it. So it's helpful to do it with a couple of little pieces rather than one really big piece. So this is going to be the back because this is where the tape is. And I always want my tape to be on the back so that people can't see it. So my finished alligator is going to be flipped over like this. Now, my tail is kind of sticking out a little on top, so I'm just going to trim the tail a little bit. Okay, so here's my alligator so far. Now I'm going to give him 2 little legs. I'm going to take one of my rectangle scraps, and I'm going to cut a skinny rectangle, and I'm just going to snip it in half. So the legs are going to go like that. So let me flip him and tape. Always tape on the back. Now, if you want your alligator to have little claws, one thing you can do is take your scissors and cut little triangles out of the bottom of his feet. So I'll cut out one triangle so you can see what I mean. So there was one triangle. Now I cut out 2 triangles and he has 3 little claws. And I'll do the same thing for this one. Okay. Now I'm going to use one of my scraps. Scrap's pretty good. It's just a little triangle. I think that was his mouth. You're going to need 2 bumps for his eyes. So just 2 semicircles from the edge of a scrap. There's one bump. And there's another bump. And you're going to cut those out and tape them to the top of his cute little gator head. Now, I just need a few more details and then he's all done. So I want some spikes on his back, and there's 2 ways you can go about giving him those spikes. You can cut out triangles by themselves. So for example, I could just take this scrap, actually, I could just cut the corner off. I could tape it on his back like that. Now, it's pretty easy to make triangles, but it is going to take a while to tape them if you go that route. So the other option is for you to draw a zigzag line on the edge of a scrap. Go up like that and down, up and down. Now, it's really important if you do this, you don't want your zigzags to be really tiny or really, really close together. I'll do a little drawing so you know what not to do. If you draw like that, where they're very, very small and close, that's going to be really hard to cut out. You want to really stretch them like this. That'll be a lot easier to cut. So I'm going to cut that out. And then I'm going to show you a little trick to make another set of zigzags really, really quickly. Here's one set. So it's going to go on my gator's back up here. I'll tape that down after I get the second set done. Now, here's the trick to making the second set of zigzags. If you look at the piece that I cut out from, there's already zigzags on here from where I cut earlier. So instead of having to cut a whole new set of zigzags, I just have to make a straight line like that over the top. And when I cut it out, I will have a whole new set of zigzags, and it'll save me a little bit of time. That'll go there on his tail. So let me tape those down, and then we'll do the eyes and the teeth, and he'll be all set. Okay. So the eyes are what we needed the white scrap for. You can see that was where I cut out my eyes from an earlier alligator. So you're just gonna need 2 circles. You can draw them first with your pencil and then cut them out, or if you feel confident about cutting circles, you can just go straight to scissors. I'll draw mine first. And I would suggest always draw a little bigger than you think you need, because it's pretty easy to trim and make something smaller. But it's really hard to make something bigger. Usually you just have to try again. Okay, there's one eyeball. Looks pretty good. And there's the other one. Okay, now this is the step where I thought it may be easier for you to use a glue stick instead of tape to get those eyes to stay down flat. Remember, whenever you're gluing, you always want to put your glue on the smaller thing. So that's the eyeball. You don't want to put your glue stick directly on here because you might not get the right amount of glue. You might have too much, and then you'll have an alligator with a sticky eyeball. And I can't think of much worse than that. Okay. I think I'm just going to give him some teeth, and I'll draw in his eyes, and then we're all set. Okay, so you can actually see on my scrap that I had started doing teeth right here, but they wound up being so small that I thought it would be very frustrating to try to finish cutting them. So I stopped and made a new set of teeth that were bigger. So I'm going to make sure when I draw the teeth on here that I do them big and wide so that I don't go crazy cutting them out. There's my little guy. Oh, let's give him a tongue. I think for my first alligator, the tongue was just kind of a long, ovally kind of shape. So I'm just going to cut along the edge here. And I'll let this part of it kind of end in a curve instead of a straight line. Like that. And that'll just get kind of tucked back. It's kind of funny. Okay. I think this I only need to tape on the very end. All right, if you have a black crayon or a marker or a Sharpie, you can use that to draw the pupils in his eyes. If you don't, you can just use a pencil, that works too. Or if you have black paper, you can cut out little circles and glue them on. And that's it. Like my little guy, I hope you like your alligators too. And I will see you guys next week for another lesson. Bye.